Hello everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video is the August stitch of the month, and that stitch is the Wave Crochet Stitch pattern. I love this pattern because it makes such a beautiful washcloth or towel, of course, but it also has these ridges that are formed from stitching our single crochet rows in the back loops only. This stitch is easy, it's a fun repeat, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. Now we'll be making this towel with the topper together today on the video, and you can find all the information from stitch counts to multiples and lots of pictures on that link that's provided for you down in the notes underneath this video. So what you're going to need to make our Waves dish towel with topper is two different color yarns. Now I'm using solids. You can use variegateds if you want to. The main thing is, in order to see the waves in the fabric of the towel, it works best alternating with two different colors of yarn. I really recommend that you use either a cotton blend or 100% cotton, and those need to be a medium weight number 4 yarn. For today's demonstration, I am using Crafter's Secret. This is a papaya color. I loved it. It's like a rusty orange. And then I'm using this one. This is a peaches and cream in a beige. And yes, it's okay to mix brands as long as the fiber content is the same. All right, so I do recommend for this project that you use a cotton or a cotton blend. You're going to need about 3 ounces of one color because you're going to do your striping, of course, and then the topper of the towel will be in a solid. And it's up to you which color you choose for a solid. So you're going to need about 3 ounces of one color and about 2 ounces of the other color. But you're going to need a total of about 5 ounces or about 250 yards because we're making a towel and a topper. You're going to need a button, and I'm using this fun wooden button. I love wooden buttons, and this one is really cute. It has a little bit of a burnt edge on it, and I like that for this towel. And it needs to be about 1 inch to maybe 1.25 inches. You don't want to go any bigger than that because you'll have to adjust the hole that we're going to slide the button through. So you need about a 1-inch button of choice. We're going to be stitching today with our eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle to sew that button on, and make sure you can get that needle through the eye of your button. And then we'll also need that, of course, for weaving in ends. And then, of course, you're going to need a pair of scissors. We're going to begin with the wave portion of our project because that is our stitch of the month, and that's going to be the towel portion, of course. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 35 chains. Now remember to chain this beginning chain just a little bit loose so the bottom isn't puckered up. All right, so we're going to chain 35 chains just a little bit loosely. I have chained 35 chains, and now we're going to stitch a row of single crochets. So we'll begin in the second chain from the hook, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. And now we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of the chains, working all the way across. 1 single crochet in each chain. I have stitched 1 single crochet in each stitch across. We began in the second chain from the hook, So we have 34 single crochets. We're going to chain 1 and turn. This chain 1 does not count as a stitch. On this next row, we're going to do our first wave stitch pattern. We're going to begin in the first single crochet and stitch 1 single crochet in the first 2 stitches. Now we're going to stitch a double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over and go through the second 2 loops, and then we'll stitch that next double crochet. Now we're going to stitch a triple stitch in the next 2 single crochets. So 2 wraps on your hook, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over and go through the third 2, and then we'll stitch a second triple in the next stitch. Alright, so we've stitched 1 single crochet in the first 2, 1 double crochet in the next 2, and 1 triple in the next 2. Now we're going to stitch a double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. And then we'll stitch a single crochet in the next 2. And see how that looks like a wave? All right, now we're going to repeat across. 1 double crochet in the next 2. 1 triple stitch in the next 2 stitches. 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And 1 single crochet in those next 2 stitches. And now we've completed our second wave. All right, let's do it again. Double crochet in the next 2. Triple in the next 2. Double crochet in the next 2. And single crochet in the next 2. So now we've completed our third wave. Let's do one more. Double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. Triple stitch in the next 2. 1 and 2. Double crochet in the next 2. There we go. And then the last 2 stitches will be 1 single crochet in each. That one's a little snug. All right, so now we're going to bring in our color 2. We're going to leave our color 1 attached, and we're going to turn our work. We're going to chain 1, snug that down, and now we're going to be working in the back loops only, and we're going to be stitching 1 single crochet in each of our stitches across. So let's look at the top here. You have loops that are facing you, that's your front loop, and we have loops that are facing away, that's your back loop. All right, so you're going to go in just the back loop and stitch a single crochet, and you'll stitch 1 single crochet in each of the stitches, all the single crochets, double crochets, and triples and singles working all the way across. All right, so we're stitching 1 single crochet in each of the stitches across, working in the back loop only. And you'll notice that a ridge will form right along here. And that helps that washcloth or wash towel or towel for drying to have a little ridge, makes it a little more absorbent, and also makes the waves stand out a little bit better so that you can see them. All right, so 1 single crochet in each of the stitches across, working in the back loops only. I have completed row 3, stitching 1 single crochet in each of the stitches across, working in the back loops only. Now we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to turn our work. Now this chain 4 counts as a triple, and we're going to stitch a triple in the next, not the first one, but the next single crochet. All right, so now we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and we are not working in the back loops. We're stitching it regular like we did before. All right, now we're going to stitch a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Now we'll stitch a double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Now we'll stitch a triple in the next 2 stitches. A double crochet in the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And then a single in the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. All right, now let's take a look at it. We started with our chain 4, which counted as a triple instead of a single. And so we have 2 triples, 2 doubles, 2 singles, and then we start back with the 2 singles, double, triple, double, singles, 2 of each. And so we're still doing waves. We just have a half a one here. And then we'll repeat this across, and we'll end up with a half a one down here as well. All right, so we'll have 1, 2, 3, and then we'll have 2 half waves on the ends. And that's how it measures up and works out to these beautiful wave stitches. All right, so let's keep going. We did our 2 singles, so we're going to do 2 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 2. We'll do 2 triples, and again 1 in each of the next 2. There we go. Double crochet in the next 2. Single crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. All right, now we're going to do a double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. A triple in the next 2. Double crochet in the next 2. And a single in the next 2. And now we end up with the end similar to this end, where we're going to have a double crochet in the next 2. I should say exactly, not similar, because you're going to end up on a triple stitch. All right, so we stitched a double in the next 2, and we're going to stitch a triple in the last 2. There we go. Whoops. Yarn went flying. All right, so we have a half of a wave, starting with a triple. Then we have 1, 2, 3 waves, and then another half wave, ending on a triple crochet. So now we're going to bring in our color 1. We're going to chain 1 and turn. And I like to move the yarn around so it doesn't get twisted. When we're moving back and forth from 2 colors, the yarn can get a little bit twisted, and then you end up having to deal with that. So try to keep your yarn from getting twisted. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing we did down here. We're going to stitch a single crochet in each of the stitches, again working in the back loops. So our chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We'll go right in that first back loop and stitch a single crochet. And then we'll stitch 1 single crochet in each of the stitches, working all the way across our row. So again, we're stitching 1 single crochet in each stitch, working in the back loops only. I stitched that row of single crochet, stitching in the back loops only, and you can see how that ridge works. The ridge here and the ridge here. All right, now what we're going to do for row 6 is we're going to repeat what we did on row 2. We're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to do the wave the way we did it down here. So we'll single crochet in that first stitch because our chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we'll stitch a single crochet in the first 2 stitches. Then we'll stitch a double crochet in the next 2 stitches. We'll stitch a triple in the next 2 stitches. Double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Then single crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2. And so we're repeating row 2 on row 6, and we'll have those 4 wave stitches. I have completed row 6, and you can see that I have 4 waves. It looks just like row 1 and 2. This is the back, and when you turn it over, this is the front. And the front of our project is where you'll see those ridges. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to continue to repeat row 3 and row 4, row 5 and row 6 for 20 more rows, alternating our colors and our rows every 2 rows. All right? And that will get you up through row 26. So we're going to repeat row 3, row 4, row 5, and row 6 for 20 more rows. And again, we're alternating our colors every 2 rows and our rows every 2 rows. So I have repeated rows 3 through 6 for 20 more rows. And that's going to give you 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26 rows. You'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of your main color and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of your second color. And this is the way it should look at this point. Now don't panic if you have your edges where you've carried your yarn. It's okay. We're going to put a trim on it. We're going to put a trim down the side, across the bottom, and then back up. And then I'm going to show you how to fold it and add the topper. Now we're going to do a trim. We're going to turn and work down the side, across the bottom, and back up with just some simple single crochet stitches. And you can decide which color you want to do that particular trim in. I'm going to use my beige, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off my rust color. There we go. So I've cut off my rust and I'm going to use my beige color. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn, and we will be working with the back side facing out. All right. And so what we'll do is we'll just start with the chain 1. And now we're going to evenly single crochet down the side. And this is the side that has where we carried our yarn. And you're going to make sure that you catch those as you do that. So we're going to go in and stitch single crochet, trying to stitch in the stitches and not the holes. All right, so this is the edge where I have my triple crochet. Oops, looks like I ran out of yarn. I'll have to add some more yarn in. All right, but before we do that, I want to show you, stitch in the side of the stitch and not the hole. Make sure you go around where you trailed that yarn in. And just simply and evenly stitch single crochets down the side of your washcloth or your towel. Okay, I'll have to add some more yarn in there, but we're going to stitch all the way down, stitching over our tails of yarn. And when we get down here, you'll stitch 3 single crochets in the corner, and then we'll stitch across the bottom. I need to add some more yarn in though. I evenly single crochet down the side, making sure I stitched over where we trailed that yarn up the side. I'm down here to the corner, and in the corner I'm going to stitch 3 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then working across the bottom, we have those chain stitches to stitch in. And so we'll just single crochet in each of those chain stitches from where we began. All right, and then we'll stitch across the bottom, and then we'll stitch back up to the top, but don't stitch across the top here. All right, one side across the bottom, and then single crochet up the other side. I stitched down the side, 3 single crochets in the corner, then I stitched across the bottom, evenly single crocheting, 3 single crochets in the corner, and then all the way up to the side. Now I'm done with this beige because I'm going to bring in back in my orange for my topper. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this, but I want to show you, I'm going to do that so it doesn't come undone. This is the back of our towel. Okay, and if you turn it over, this is the front of our towel. All right, but let's turn it back over to the back because we're going to fold it. We're going to fold it halfway this way and halfway this way. And then you want to make sure it's nice and even. Like that, okay? And then we'll just tie this off, and what I do is I go ahead and take the end of this one, put it on my needle. Whoops, that didn't work. All right, we'll try that again. A little bit splitty there. And I put the 2 ends stitched together. Just a couple of loops, and that's going to help me when it comes time to do this next row where we start putting on the topper. All right, so I just do a couple of those. Make sure that's going to hold, and then I'll clip that off because we're going to be stitching starting over at the side and stitching across. So this is the back of our towel. This is the inside, and we want to stitch the topper from the front. So we're going to turn it over. We're going to take our hook and go in those 2 stitches on the end and bring in our color we're going to use for our topper. All right, now we're going to stitch a row of single crochets, and we need to have 17 single crochets. So we'll go right in that first stitch and stitch 1, 2, make sure you're going through the front and the back, 3, 4, 5, 6, make sure I get through both those loops, 7, 8, and this 9th one I'm going to go right through the center of the middle back there. That's going to hold that snug. All right, that was 9, and we'll go through there for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, get through both those loops, 15, there we go, 16, and our last one is 17. You need to have 17 single crochets stitching your front to your back flaps. All right, so now we're going to begin making the topper. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn our work. And now what we're going to do is just stitch 1 double crochet in each stitch across. Our chain 3 counts as our first, so we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next 16 stitches. Our chain 3 counts as 1, and so we'll have 17 double crochets. 1 double crochet in each of those single crochets. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to begin doing some decreased stitches, and we'll be stitching the first 2 double crochets together in a double crochet decrease. So yarn over, go in the very first stitch and pull up a loop, then go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through the first 3, yarn over and go through the last 2. Then we'll stitch a double crochet in each stitch across until we reach those last 2 double crochets. I've stitched my double crochet decrease, or stitching 2 double crochets together with the first 2 stitches, then 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across until we reach those last 2, and we're going to stitch a double crochet decrease, or stitching 2 double crochets together with the last 2 stitches. And that last stitch, of course, is the chain 3 that counted as our double crochet. There we go. And chain 1. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 stitches instead of 17. All right, so we chained 1. We're going to turn and repeat what we've just done. We'll stitch the first 2 double crochets together in a double crochet decrease. We'll stitch each of the double crochets across until we reach those last 2. And now I'm going to stitch the last 2 stitches together in a double crochet decrease. And chain 1. So now we have 13 double crochets. Chain 1, turn, and repeat. Stitch the first 2 stitches together, double crochet decrease, 1 double crochet in each stitch across until we reach those last 2 stitches. Got a little knot following me there. All right, now we'll stitch these last 2 stitches together. And chain 1. All right, we're going to do it one more time. So we'll turn our work. Again, we chained one. We'll stitch the first 2 stitches together. 1 double crochet in each of the stitches across. Double crochet decrease with the last 2 stitches, or stitching 2 double crochets together. And on this one we're going to chain 3 because we're done with our decrease stitches on the side. So we started with 17 double crochets, then we went to 15 to 13, 11, and now we have 9 double crochets because we decreased at the beginning and end of each of these rows. So at the end of this row we chained 3. That chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. And we're going to just stitch 1 double crochet in each stitch across. We're all done with our decrease stitches. There we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 double crochets. We're going to chain 3. And now we're going to form our buttonhole. All right, so we turn our work, 1 double crochet in the first 4, but our chain 3 counts as 1, so we're going to double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, oops, get in there, 3. Now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. We're going to skip 1 double crochet and then double crochet in the last 4. 1, 2, there we go, 3 and 4, which is that chain that counted as our first double crochet. So now we formed a hole for our button. Now we're going to finish up with trimming up the top of our topper. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. And now we're on the front of our work. We're going to single crochet in the first 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to stitch 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space. 1 and 2. And then we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in these 4 stitches. Now we're going to turn our work and we're going to evenly single crochet down to where we joined the topper to the towel. All right, so I'm going to stitch a single crochet right in that same stitch, and then we're just going to evenly single crochet down the side. And again, we want to try to stitch in those sides of the stitches and not the holes. There we go, almost back down to the towel where we joined. And again, there isn't a set number of stitches, it's just whatever looks nice and neat down the side. All right, now when we get to this row here where we have our front posts we're going to go right next to it here and stitch a single crochet. Now we're going to turn our work and we're going to slip stitch right across that row. All right, so you're going to have to bring it up a little bit and go right in that stitch and slip stitch. And we're just slip stitching right across the row. You go in, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the loop on your hook. And you're only going through that loop that we didn't stitch in, which would be the front loop if it was facing the other way when we stitched it, but it's the back loop since we're stitching it this direction. And see how that looks? I like it. I think it looks really cool when it's a different color than what we did there. It just has a little bit of a, I don't know, flare, pop of color, whatever you want to call it. All right, so we're going to slip stitch across here till we reach this other side. There we go. All right, so I'm in that last stitch. I want you to see how that looks. All right, so now all we're going to do is we're going to stitch back up to the side over here and tie off. Then we'll be finished and we can add our button. All right, so I'm just going to single crochet evenly up the side. I evenly single crocheted up that second side. I'm going to join to that first single crochet and pull that loop to the back. There we go. Looks nice and neat. I need to weave that in, and then I'm going to show you how to add that button. All right, now I'm going to take my button and I'm going to make sure it's even, and I'm going to put it right here in these stitches, because remember, you want to sew your button on through some stitches and not the holes, or it's not going to hold. And I always start with a loop like that. Then I grab my button and I make sure I'm going through stitches, not holes. And this especially because this is going to be buttoned and unbuttoned probably several times. And so you want to make sure that's on good and secure. And just stitch that until you're happy with how tight that is. All right, and then we'll go to the back. And I'm going to use my hook and grab that other strand of yarn. There we go. And then I'm going to give it a good couple of knots. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to give it one more for good measure, because I just know it's going to get a lot of wear and tear going through the wash and being used in the kitchen. All right, so your button's on the front. You just button it in there. And of course, this goes over the handle of your dishwasher or refrigerator. And that's how you stitch the wave crochet stitch pattern and make it into a nice towel. Now, if you don't want to add the topper, just do a single crochet trim all the way around and you have a nice size washcloth as well. So that's our stitch of the month, the wave crochet stitch pattern.